Hello, welcome back to the Newsfloor. My name is Valerie Lee, and if you're new here, this is the one-stop shop, as I like to call it, for all things dance music news, tunes, and interviews with sometimes artists, sometimes folks from the music industry. This week, I have a really exciting guest coming on just a little bit later. Her name is Ronnie Ho, and she has a very snazzy title, Head of Dance and Electronic Development over at Spotify. I'm super excited. I wanted to meet her and talk to her for a really long time. And obviously, it being quarantine, haven't had that opportunity. So we actually crossed paths in a very unique way, somewhat recently, a couple months ago for the first time, all over text message, all over the internet. And I figured it might be a weird way, like a weird first way to meet someone, but what better way to get to know her than actually bring her onto the show, talk to her a little bit about her background in music and obviously her very interesting role, and talk about some of the cool stuff she does at Spotify. So I'm excited to have her. Be sure to stick around and tune in for that. Otherwise, there is some fun news. I feel like for so many weeks here on the news floor, we talked about how dance music was coming back. Not only dance music, but festivals were coming back. And I feel like now we are very much in that time period where the festivals are all announcing, people are buying tickets again. So there's a lot of good news around all of that. It is coming up soon. Oh, hey, hello, hello. Yes, the news floor is back. Thanks for coming back. I may look different for those of you who have been here before. Your girl got bangs. Very exciting new development on my end. You can't really tell, but they're blue. In better lighting, you could probably tell that they're really blue. But you know, we're all emerging out of quarantine, so we all got to get our hair done. So that's what I did. But all right, let's get started with. I guess it's not really news. This is just something that I wanted to bring in. It's like mini news. I'll call it mini news. So there's a new clip that came out, I think last week, of a brand new Prodigy song that is coming very soon, which is exciting and not something you hear about very often. So this is a clip from Twitter. It is a very brief clip. I think it's like maybe it's 15 seconds long. So it's very short. And you'll hear in a little bit. It's very Prodigy, very exciting. You know, like these little, I forget what they're called. People make like big necklaces with them and stuff. Curlers? Is that what they're called? I feel like they're called curlers in brave kid language. But this is the clip of the song. It is the first publicly revealed project from the band since Keith Flint died in 2019. So obviously, very emotional time for them to be coming back, but also exciting that they are reuniting. They've come back together to collaborate on new music, and as you can tell, very bass heavy, rock influence. And I kind of feel like, honestly, from what I can tell, also based off of lineups that we're going to get to in a little bit, rock is going to have its moment. Rock is very much coming back. I think, I don't know what it is. I guess it's maybe just like the timelessness of rock bands. Maybe that has something to do with it, but that high energy, maybe. I'm trying to think of other reasons why, but it's all coming back. I think there's some headliners that are a little surprising to me because they're not necessarily new and fresh, but they are classic rock bands. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's talk about the first news that has crossed my desk. Kraftwerk. Very exciting. Oh no. See, this is what happens when I take a week off. I forget how to produce my own show. All right. The news is that Kraftwerk is going to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This to me feels like it's about time. It is long overdue in many ways, but of course, as we all know, especially rock and roll, as I was just talking about the genre, rock and roll doesn't always fully respect the genre of electronic music, so it kind of makes sense that sometimes it takes them a little bit longer to recognize someone as impactful as Kraftwerk. But of course, Kraftwerk is a seminal group, and as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has finally admitted, without them, simply electronic music would not exist. They credited their early albums, The Man Machine, Computer World, and Electric Cafe, as establishing the blueprint for modern electronic music. And the interesting thing about Kraftwerk's nomination, thank God, finally they have been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as of 2021. But they were actually nominated over 6 times over the past however many years, of people, trying to get them recognized officially in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So finally, seventh time is a charm, sixth time is a charm. I don't think that's how the saying goes, but you know what? Better late than never. That Kraftwerk has finally been inducted in, and they join the 2020 class alongside some pretty recognizable, respectable names like Tina Turner, Jay-Z, the Foo Fighters, and Carole King. So take that, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, except Kraftwerk. I like this nice little page and biography that they wrote up about them, so go check it out if you haven't yet. And let's move on to that exciting festival news that I was talking about a little bit earlier, because Lollapalooza is coming back. And I do believe that they are going to mark being one of the very first major festivals back on. As some of us may know, Coachella is actually going to be waiting for a little bit longer until 2022 to return. So Lollapalooza will be the very first festival. So it is coming back to Chicago's Grant Park. And the surprising thing is that it's going to be at full capacity in 2021. So I think a lot of people were potentially anticipating a lot of the major festivals doing half capacity, but I know that obviously financially it's not very easy for a lot of these major festivals to pull off something like that and make it worthwhile. So it is exciting to see that Lollapalooza is going to be going for it. The festival is happening July 29th to August 1st, and the lineup actually came out today. I'll say it's a very interesting lineup. I'm curious to know what people's thoughts are if you're in the chat, if you've seen this lineup already, if you haven't. Here it is right here. I'll make it bigger so we can check out some of the headliners on there, some of the smaller names as well. Lollapalooza is definitely known for being a little bit of a diverse genre festival. As you can tell from the headliners alone, we got Foo Fighters, like I just mentioned. They also were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so go Foo Fighters. But a bit of a random headliner, in my opinion. To be honest, I'm not fully up to date with what the Foo Fighters have going on, so maybe they've released a lot of interesting new music recently, and I'm totally behind on that. But I do know that a lot of the conversation around some of the big festivals that are announcing lineups as of late is that a lot of the offers that were put in 2019 for festivals and shows that were canceled, many of them still have to be honored in one way or another. So sometimes I know that I've seen some criticism from people saying that, some of the lineups feel a little bit 2019, a little more 2019 than they do 2021. But I do think Lollapalooza, especially in some of the lower names in the middle towards the end of the lineup, I think that they definitely are paying attention to some of the acts that have been breaking on TikTok, which, again, a controversial place to determine is that somebody that you want to see on a festival lineup? But at the same time, how else do we know? We haven't had shows for the past year and a half now, so why not take a chance on some of the up-and-coming TikTok stars? But yeah, curious to know what you guys think about this festival lineup. I think it's a bit all over the place, personally. Post Malone, Tyler, the Creator, and arguably Miley Cyrus, I think they make sense as pop headliners, but there are a couple of the more throwback acts, like Journey and Limp Bizkit, I kind of thought were funny ones. Journey, obviously classic sing-along, no doubt about that. I'm sure when they play Don't Stop Believin', we're all going to be singing it. But question is, do we want to be hearing Don't Stop Believin' when we're at Lollapalooza? I don't know. Maybe it's the feel-good tune that'll bring us together after all of this, these dark times that we've had over the past year and a half. But really interesting to see. Lollapalooza is back. Curious to know if anyone is going, who you're excited about on the festival lineup. There's definitely some great electronic leaning talents on here, like, of course, Kate Renata, Alice in Wonderland, and other folks. But Lollapalooza definitely tends to go towards more the commercial end of things. But the festival itself is great. I have been once upon a time. And when I went, I got a very real dose of that crazy Chicago weather. It was sunny, wonderful weather all day. And then I think around 7 p.m. it hit a thunderstorm, rose out of nowhere, started coming towards the festival. And within like 30 minutes, the entire place was like flooded with rain. It was so crazy. but you know, that's okay too. So, okay, the next news article I was going to show you guys, but I think the article just locked me out because it's one of those you have one free show or one free reading of this article only. So bear with me, but the headline was a really interesting one because there was a trial that was conducted recently that determined that mass events, including concerts and sporting events, could actually be as safe as going to the restaurant or to the store. That's a pretty crazy title to see because I think for so long we have been under the impression that being at a mass event with obviously multiple people could be really scary for a lot of us, passing germs around, breathing in each other's faces. But it seems like a lot of what we anticipated related to COVID and transmission might not actually be that scary as we thought it was, which is really good news. I can't open the article, so I'm going to show you a tweet from Simon Dunmore, who was talking about this article. Thankful for the positive news this morning. We are increasingly hopeful that our events business will be given the chance to bounce back this summer. Of course, if you don't know Simon Dunmore, he runs things over at Defected. So certainly hoping that their events can come back soon as well. But from the article, it said that preliminary data from the events research program is understood to have found that with screening, improved ventilation, and other mitigating factors, the risk of virus transmission can be significantly reduced, reducing fears that sports matches and concerts could cause big outbreaks. So definitely something to keep an eye on. I think that this is going to be really important for the UK, as the UK, as we mentioned in our episode 2 weeks ago, when they did a trial run of how a non-socially distanced, no mask requirement event could go. They had a really big lineup. I showed that video of Jada G playing. That was really exciting and really fun. And they said that the results from that trial run were actually really successful, meaning that things are pointing to a positive in order to have events come back in the near future over in the UK. So along with this trial, finding that things actually can be safe, because we're already going to restaurants and stores, especially here in the US. I don't know about you guys, wherever you might be located, but here in LA, things are almost like back to normal. Shows are happening again. People are eating indoors. And the recent headline that I saw around LA is that we might reach herd immunity by July. I believe that was the month that they gave, which is pretty crazy to think about, seeing as like about a year ago, things were chaotic and they were saying that like 1 in 3 people have COVID, if you guys remember those headlines. So we've come a long way. I'm proud of us for getting through it like that. So that's the news for this week. I am super excited because a lot of that news is very positive. Festivals coming back, trials being completed that point to positive results for live events. So we'll keep you updated on all of that. Let's get into the new music of the week. There's so much good new music happening. We're going to kick off with this new one from Machine Drum. It's actually a remix of Machine Drum's track Star, and it is from the artist known as Shelly, formerly known as Dram. So let's take a listen, if I can hit play right now. Just fix this little title because I have to put. There we go. Shelly, formerly known as Dram. So this is a brand new remix of the track called Star, which is from Machine Drum's really, really good album called View of You. I believe it came out last year. Such a good album. That album had so many really good guest features on it as well. So if you haven't checked it out, please do. And this remix is of the track called Star from Shelly, who is actually a Grammy-nominated artist based in Virginia here in the US, and is best known for the tune Broccoli with Lil Yachty, which I thought was really funny because listening to this track, you would never guess Lil Yachty's Broccoli. But Shelly just released his new album. It's a self-titled album, and it has been described by Pitchfork as retro R&B. So definitely vibe with this tune. This really, really nice, but also not like super positive like a lot of R&B is. It's got like this kind of mysterious, sultry vibe to it. I feel like I can't get it off yet, so we're gonna keep listening to it. I agree. Sholo, this song is very good. I also came across it somewhat recently. I'm really glad that I did. Strong vibe. But like I was mentioning, Machine Drum's View album is so good. It's really diverse. There's some hints of like drum and bass, R&B, house music, you name it. Such a solid album, so no surprise that the remixes coming off of it are equally as tasty and fun. I actually hadn't come across Shelly before as well, so I'm really glad that this remix helped me learn about him. And his previous work with Broccoli. That track is so funny. I kind of forgot about that track honestly as well, but it is such a funny song. Breakdown.
I just need some space to move around from my place. So I'ma move out my way. I just need some space.
Spacey. All right. What do we think? Brand new remix, Shelly of Machine Drum. Very good. But we're going to move on to the next track because there's actually a lot of new tracks that came out recently. It was kind of hard to decide from the new releases of Skrillex. Of course, everyone gets so excited about Skrillex coming back nowadays. It's been a long time since we definitely heard an album from him. I think the last release that we got from him was in 2019. But he is very much ready to come back and coming back quickly. I wanted to play this first new song because it's a collaboration with Fortet, which I love. Very unexpected, but at the same time, I feel like we all know by now Skrillex is one of those guys who is not afraid of doing something totally different and collabing with people that you don't expect. So for his return, he released a song called Butterflies with Fortet and the vocalist Stara. You can definitely hear the Fortet influence in here. And I loved that Fortet talked a little bit about the experience of working with Skrillex. And he was really positive about it and it was really touching. You know, he talked about working with Sonny and seeing his cosmic level Ableton skills in real time has been amazing. Huge respect for how crazy good he is at mixing, at how he got the mix sounding. So much detail went into this one. This track is really fun. And like I mentioned, it's been a very exciting time for Skrillex. I think that a lot of his fans have been waiting eagerly for more music, and it seems like he is sitting on a gold mine of originals. And not only kind of like different in the sense of like this houseier vibe, because it's definitely heavily influenced by Fortet, as you can able to tell. But he also, since releasing Butterflies, has released a new track called Too Bizarre. That is with Valerie Lee and a new artist named Sick Brain. And if you guys haven't heard that track yet, I'll play it after this, even though I wanted to highlight Butterflies because it's my personal favorite of the two. But Too Bizarre definitely returns a little bit to Skrillex's funkier roots, punk band roots. But it also has like that rap influence with Valerie Lee featured on it. I'm gonna let it drop and we'll go. Like this part sounds so forced out to me. But yeah, who would have thought? Fortet and Skrillex? 2021, man. listen to. Yeah, Mike says it's a banger. I agree. Would dance to this on a dance floor. Very down. Alright, let's see if I can pull up this next track from Skrillex. Maybe I'm reading into that too much, but I do actually really like the track. It's definitely a little different. No, we're not going to listen to Katy Perry's Electric. It's definitely really different. I don't even know if I would classify that as dance music. Obviously, everyone is talking about it in the dance music space because of Skrillex, and we all love and stan him. But really interesting to see what direction he's going in. And like I mentioned, my prediction for 2021 is that rock is going to have its moment. Definitely across a lot of headliners that we're seeing on festival lineups. So we'll see. We will see. All right, next track I'm really excited about. It is from Gaspard Auger. I'm hoping that that's how you pronounce the G. I could be totally incorrect because, of course, it's French and I do not speak French. But Gaspard Auger might sound like a new name to you, but you probably know him as one half of the electronic duo Justice. This track, simply titled Hey! Is from his debut record, which will be called Escapades. And this is one of, I believe, 2 singles that has come out from the new album. The album is coming out on June 25th, and this will be actually his very first solo full-length project from the producer. So while we might still be mourning the loss of Daft Punk, since they split up, however, maybe it was like a month ago now, at least we have new music from Justice's Gaspard. So this video is so funny. It's only a minute long, sadly. I wish it was longer, but I love it. I'm just gonna hit play and then we're gonna talk about it a little bit. Already majestic. Man on horse. You can definitely hear the French Justice-esque inspiration here with that guitar-y riff. Look at this man just galloping through the middle of nowhere. And I loved his explanation of this music video. He mentioned that this was the first thing that came to my mind while recording the track. A Mongolian horse rider playing the violin in step, which there he goes with his violin. An epic ride with a Far East feel. Simple. I wish this album was, I wish this music video was longer because how epic was that? It's so fun, and I also wanted to highlight an interview that my friend Kat Vine did related to this release and also the upcoming album. It's over on Spin. She talked to Gaspard about Escapades, which is coming out, like I mentioned, at the end of June. And he talks a lot about kind of the feeling of the album that he wanted to capture. It's going to be really different from Justice stuff. This paragraph right here, if you're expecting it to sound like another Justice record, don't. It's familiar in its grandeur, and there are sounds and techniques you've heard before, but never quite this joyful, this dramatic, and this brooding. So as you can probably tell based on that last track and also just the music video in general, very dramatic, very epic. And I think it's going to be really fun. So I'm really looking forward to that album. There's one other track that's out already. It's called Force Majeure. So go listen to those and we'll keep an eye out for more coming from Gaspard. And with that, that wraps up our music section. Let me know which one was your favorite. Was it Gaspard's tune? Was it the new Skrillex? And remember, I picked the Skrillex Fortet collaboration, not the Skrillex and Sway Lee Sick Brain one, even though we did listen to that and it was very good as well. And the Shelly remix of Machine Drum. Let me know which one was your favorite. But you type that in the chat and I'm going to welcome our very special guest for this week's episode. I'm super excited. I mentioned in the beginning, Ronnie is someone that I came to meet in a very unique way. We actually haven't met in person, have not run into each other, even though we both operate in this small little music industry world. We came together over a text message during a very interesting time in both of our lives. And we talked a little bit about, what it means to be Asian and also just Asian women in dance music, and especially specifically, in this dance music space. She is the head of dance and electronic development over at Spotify. So I figured what better way to get to know her than actually bring her on bring her on my show and interview her because that's totally normal and I'm fun like that. So, without further ado, let's welcome Ronnie. Hey.
Hi, how's it
Hi.
going?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Living the dream.
Living the dream. I love it. You're over in New York, right? So it's a
Yeah.
little bit evening time for you. Well, I appreciate you cutting into dinner time to be here with me. Like I mentioned, I think it's so funny. I'm tickled by the fact that this is the first time that we're really even having a conversation in real life, not even
Yeah.
over the phone or anything. But to give everyone context, Ronnie reached out to me back in March after the
Yeah.
Atlanta shootings happened. And I was really touched by you reaching out because I think that we've talked about this as well. Just there aren't that many Asian women in dance music in general, even on the artist side, but also definitely within the industry side of things. So I love that you reached out to me. I love learning about the journeys of other Asian women in the music industry because
Yeah.
I think we all kind of share this similar story often of like families who want us to be families who want us to be taking some sort of generic path, like go be a doctor, go be a lawyer, something like that. And here we are going, I like dance music, let me make a living doing that. So I guess I'd like to start by asking you, how did you first become a dance music fan? Like, when did you come into this universe?
Um, Probably the most typical way, like my friends were like, we're going to this festival, we're going to this show. And I was super into music in general. I grew up
Yeah.
actually listening to a lot of punk music. So I went to
Oh,
all the festivals on the East Coast when they would come through. So of course I was like allowed to go to clubs. I was old enough to when I was in
yeah.
undergrad. And then yeah, it kind of was game over once you experience that music live for the first time. You're like, I want to be here forever. So
Yeah.
that's really literally what happened.
That's really interesting. I've heard that story many times before too, where people come from like punk
Yeah.
rock music because it has a very similar energy. Obviously, very different types of music and sounds, but very much that kind of like be whoever you want to be, let all your energy out in those
Right.
shows and in those crowds. So it tends to make sense. Do you remember who were the first types of artists or what was the first dance music festival that you went to?
Um, I think my first concert was Cap Slap. If you remember him.
I don't.
Um,
Oh, yes, I do. I do. That was like
yeah.
the mashup era, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then Chain Smokers, Girl Talk, they all rolled through Pittsburgh. I went to school in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So I went to those shows. And then when I moved back to New York, it was kind of like everyone and their mother was playing a show every weekend. So Armin Van Buren to
Yep.
Above and Beyond to Adventure Club, literally all of them.
Yeah. New
Yeah.
York is the hot spot. And
Yeah,
yeah, I love
exactly.
that. I totally remember like the golden era of
Yeah.
mashup DJs. And it was like one of those really welcoming types of genres for a lot of us
Right.
because it was like pop music, but then you're like, no, this is different than actually just listening to the radio hits.
Exactly.
So you've obviously been at Spotify for several years. You've got this amazing title called Head of Dance and Electronic Development over there. Walk me through your journey. How did you come to work at Spotify and how did you come to hold that role over there?
Yeah, totally. So I, like you had alluded to before, my parents wanted me to have a stable job. So I started out actually in investment banking in finance. Very quickly learned that as rewarding of a job that is, and I say that sarcastically, I really
As exciting of a job as that is.
yeah, exactly. I really knew my heart was in music. When I was in school, I was booking all the concerts. I was doing a lot of things related to music. And I felt like I just wanted to get back in there. So, I mean, the music industry, it can be hard to get in and figure out the right, angle to get in there. So
Yeah.
I applied to some roles at Spotify that were more finance leaning, just so I could,
Mm-hmm.
get my foot in the door. Started out on the business development team, building financial models for like deals that we were working on. I know it's like so not what I do today. But what
Got
was
to start
funny,
somewhere.
exactly, what was funny was the business development team at the time was sitting next to the editorial team on the music side. So I had made a lot of friends just because they were blasting music, and I was like, I what? This is the dream. Like this is the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
So I met them, And then, over time, opportunities were opening up on the music team, and eventually made my way there, and figured out
That's
how to
awesome.
land it. And here I am.
Yeah, what a great like organic way to kind of take what you have, like I mentioned and like you've talked about already. There is so much pressure within like Asian culture to like
Yeah.
find stability and like do something where like the path is fully set. And you did that, but then you were like, I'm just gonna veer to the right a
Right.
little bit, right next to my editorial buddies and figure it out. But that's really cool. And, I talked about this a little bit earlier about the way that we got connected. You reached out to me back in March around all the Atlanta stuff. And I know that, you felt so compelled to take action and do something around those feelings that we were having, which I so appreciate. And I know that you've kind of pulled that into the work that you're doing over at Spotify. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that and, shed some light on what you are working on over there.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is the overachiever in me or what it is, but I when I saw that happen and I knew the tools that our company had, I was like, okay, what can we do to leverage the resources and get in front of as many people to educate folks about what was going on? Because you can post as many things as you want on Instagram and social media, but over time, you're just kind of like people kind of blurry eyed and just like don't really, listen anymore. So I essentially, when that happened, kind of freaked out, and I was like, we need to make a hub that kind of houses all of the educational pieces of podcasts, and also the fun parts like the music, and also entertaining sides of the Asian community. So we built that into a hub called Stop Asian Hate, which was really cool because the company really rallied behind it. It wasn't just like me, like by myself in the corner, like hacking away at the system. It was like everyone coming to me, they're like, what can we do? And let's make it happen. Let's do it right away. And it wasn't just a bunch of Asians either. It was people of all colors and people of all backgrounds, all different teams who are like, let's make this happen. And we did in record time. So it was just cool to see how amazing the people I was working with were able to help me get this up and running. And I mean, it's still live. And right now, given that it is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, it's more celebratory. And we have a lot more content and music and things like that, celebrating songwriters, artists, podcasters. But when May is over, we'll revert back to a more educational hub for everyone to continue to check out.
That's so amazing. I am inspired that you took the feelings that we were having and really took action on it, because I remember that was a conversation I was having internally with myself too, of like, oh, I've posted a lot on Instagram. Like, what else can be done? Like, how can I take how I'm feeling and really put it to action? And obviously Spotify does such an amazing job of, providing discoverability for people, like with the playlists and all that. So the fact that you were kind of able to marry that together and also just prove that there are Asian artists out there.
Oh my God, so many.
So many. That's a misconception a lot of people have, is like, oh, like they might know of like, Peggy Goo or something like that. And they're like, but that's it, right? And you're like, no, there's so many. You just haven't like dug deep enough to know. I'd love to talk to you about that. I think something I think about often is, we've spent so many years in dance music as a community talking about representation, right? Like I feel like we've emphasized that you have to have women on lineups, women and non-binary folks, but it feels like for the first time we're kind of really seriously talking about Asian representation as well. Obviously, as someone who put together this hub at Spotify, you're probably aware of a lot of really talented folks, but how do you feel the pulse of that conversation is going in dance music specifically?
I don't know if people are openly having the conversation quite yet. I think we are doing behind closed doors, and people are keeping that top of mind in terms of like how they, are doing A&R and what they're promoting and who are they thinking about for lineups and things like that. So I think it's just kind of happening innately without a conversation, which honestly is better. Like I don't have to explain myself on why this is important. So I like it. And I think it's happening not just for like Asian artists, but it's happening for all kinds of background. Like I feel like because the next generation is like, we care about this. Like we want to see representation. We like to
Yeah.
listen to music of folks who look like us. I think that the industry at large is starting to go in that direction anyway. So it's exciting. I love it. I'm like, super passionate about things like this.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited to see like what new artists are going to be coming out in the next few years.
I agree. I had Somi, the
Yeah.
emerging artist, a couple of weeks ago here on the show, and we were talking a lot about this as well, and how she pointed out something that I thought was so wonderful about how all these different, specifically Korean, because she's Korean as well. These Korean women are rising up as DJs and producers, but they're all so
Yeah.
different. Like you look at a Peggy versus a Yeji,
Hmm.
completely different sounds, styles, whatever it is. And herself also now included. And she was like,
Yeah.
it's just so great that the music industry has really embraced not trying to silo, Asian women into this like
Right.
one type of artist only. So I'm really excited to see that as well. But I'd love to know, like, who are there any artists in specific that you're really excited about that you'd just like to shout out that maybe I haven't heard of them either, so I should check them out as well.
I love so many artists. It's hard to say because I can be like as super commercial dance as you'd
Yeah.
like me to be, or I can be like a little bit more underground. Um, let's see, who do I love? I love Kareem Ali. So super into
Mm,
him. He's so dope and just like very creative in the way that he makes his music. Um, Jennifer Loveless is really cool too. So I love her. She released a track I think with that Jada G mix that came out last week with DJ
mm,
Kicks, and yeah, that one's on
so good.
repeat for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, that
Um,
one's a great one.
yeah, and honestly, I'm like really into the Skrillex vibes that are coming out. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like I'm here for this. So keep it
Uh,
coming.
well, that's an interesting thing because I just played those tracks earlier on this
Yeah.
episode. So are you more into the Fortet Butterflies vibe, or are you more into the Sway Lee punky vibe?
So I like both, and I know that's a
Yeah.
cop out answer, but because of my like old punk ways, like
Right.
like
True.
I was like, this is the Skrillex I grew up on. So I was like,
That's so true.
I was
Yep.
feeling it.
Yep.
I was feeling it. So
That's exactly what I said too. I said probably any like from first to last
yep,
fans are feeling like very happy and tickled right now, being like,
oh
"Yay,
yeah,
Punk Skrillex is back."
exactly.
Well, amazing. I don't know if you're able to answer this question publicly because I know that, sometimes a lot of the things you work on behind the scenes at Spotify are still under wraps, but is there anything that you're working on that you're really excited about or anything new that you can share that's coming up down the line that we should keep an eye out for?
Yeah. Um, well, maybe since a couple things launched this week, I can talk about those.
Yes,
We're not really great with timelines, so I can't commit to anything that's coming up. But
it
um,
happens.
this week we launched Frequency, so it's a hub celebrating Black artistry. So we have our first Frequency dance electronic playlist
Wow.
that I'm super excited for. Cookie Kawaii is on the cover, but it's just like it was just an amazing list to put together because there's these artists that come from all different subgenres, and you're
Yeah,
like, oh, it's the same thing with the Asian experience. Like we're not all the same. We like different things.
totally.
We are who we are. So I think making that list was super amazing. And I was like, I want to put like 500 songs in here, but everyone's like, chill. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. Um,
You're like, okay.
yeah, I'm like, okay, I'll wait. I'll update it next month. But so that one's super exciting, and would love for everyone to check it out and tell us what you think.
Yeah,
Um, and then track IDs is still going really strong.
I love
Essentially, how
those.
we
Yeah.
do it, yeah, is that we launch them by market, so every like country can just do what they want with it. So our French team launched 3 this week. So we have
Ooh,
Chloe, Miss Kitten, and Mid. So check those
awesome.
out.
Great
I love
artists.
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
super exciting. And then we have another one coming on Friday that you guys could just
TBD.
check out. TBD. Yeah.
Cool, cool. We'll keep an eye out for that. I'm excited, and you can access those playlists no matter where you are. You don't have to be in France to
Yep.
access them.
Nope. All
Love
over the
that.
world. So
I love
good.
that. Okay, great. And then, okay, last question I got to grill you on before you go, since you are at Spotify. Which playlist is your most played playlist?
My personal played.
Yeah, just the one that I just want to pick your brain and figure out a new playlist to follow based on your good taste. So tell me about a playlist that you love that you always listen to and check out.
Okay. This is
I
really
know that's
hard.
probably even harder than asking you about like a new artist because you're probably deep in the playlist
I know, and then my
zone at
friends are gonna
Spotify.
be upset with me if I pick one and not the other.
It's okay.
um,
You could shout
uh,
out more than one if you really can't decide.
okay. So I like My Life is a Movie. It's a
Oh,
really good one, and it's personalized to you, so you know you can learn a
very
lot about
true.
yourself just listening to that one. Um, I like lo-fi beats
Very
to
good
chill
one.
out a little bit because sometimes things get a little bit crazy, and if I'm listening to too
Hmm.
much dubstep, like just gotta balance it out once in a while.
Yeah.
And then okay, I'm gonna shout out a personal fave, and like
Yes.
you know, it's Pixel Garden. It's a new one that we had put together. It's for like gaming. I don't know. It gives me like anime vibes a little bit. So
Yeah. What is that called? It's like is it like chip tune? A lot of like
yeah,
chip tunes sprinkled in there. That kind of
yeah,
like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
like a little
Well,
bit of hyper poppy.
yep.
Like it goes in that direction.
Yes.
PC
Yes.
tunes.
PC tunes. I was gonna say yes. Yeah. The very PC tunes vibes, chip tune vibes. I love that. That's a great spread. I'm definitely gonna check out My Life as a Movie and see
Oh
what
yeah,
Spotify thinks my movie soundtrack would be because that is
exactly.
hilarious. Okay, well, amazing. I am so glad to meet you in this really funny way. I hope that one day we
Yeah,
can meet in person. One day we'll cross the country, either to New York or LA, and
let's
hang out
do
in
it.
person. Appreciate so much the work that you're doing over at Spotify and you just being, an awesome person and representative for the Asian
Oh,
community. So
thank you
continue
for
to keep
having
doing
me.
that.
This was so much fun.
Yes,
Good
of
luck with
course.
everything. And yes, we will definitely cross paths. No doubt about it.
I love that. Yes, thank you so much, Ronnie, and I hope you have a great evening over there in New
Yeah.
York. Thanks for being on
Have
the
a
news
great
floor.
afternoon.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye.
Shout out to Somi Music in the chat. I see you. Hi. Thanks for stopping by again. Also, shout out to Brownies and Lemonade. I saw you earlier up in the chat. Uh, Shout out to Ronnie. How cool is that? I love finding out that um, the various parts of the music industry that we have, it is always so nice to find the folks that really care about the music and also care about the things that music touches, like communities, identities, social issues, the things that really matter. As we all know by now, dance music is fully rooted in community and, being a safe haven for those who don't feel like they belong or didn't feel like they belonged anywhere else because dance music is safe and happy. So, with that, I leave you at the end of another episode of the News Floor. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Ronnie for stopping by. I'm looking forward to checking out those playlists that she mentioned and also checking out the Asian Pacific Islander representation and education playlist and hub that she put together. So I will catch you guys here next week. We are going to be back with more news, more tunes, and interviews. And until then, I hope you stay safe. If you're going out, if you're already going out, get vaccinated. And I'll see you next week. Take care.